speaking of nerds, the Packers have called for the stadium district to get involved with lease negotiations. What? Didn't we talk about this offseason? Can't they work this shit out sometime other than in the middle of a fucking football season?
Yeah, I don't.
Man, look, I'm not going to get too crazy into this. We'll probably touch on this in Blogosphere, though we may just skip it because I'm so sick of talking about it already. And this just happened like an hour or so ago. But man, like with the mayor, I'm like, okay, I understand the reasoning, and I've talked about this on Twitter. I just don't feel like from his end, he really appreciates the unique situation that he and the Packers are in. On the flip side, with the Packers, why you gotta like have a app notification for this letter you sent to the stadium district? You make poor Wes Hod write a whole article, and then you, I will say, include a pretty phenomenal letter from your legal counsel. But like all of this should be talked about behind closed doors. Yeah. There is no reason that this needs to be dragged out into the public. Like the only card they feels like they think they have is to try to sway public opinion. But that's not going to solve this. The public doesn't have any input to it. The mayor ain't up for re-election until 2027. So work it out.
Also, the last time I checked, it's not the Mark Murphy It's not the Mark Murphy Packers. It's not the Ed Policy Packers. It's not the Ashwaubenon Packers. It's not the Brown County Packers. It's not the Wisconsin Packers. Last time I checked, and the municipality I live in and I'm currently sitting in right now, and what you see behind me is in, it's the Green Bay Packers. The Green Bay Packers. And I think whatever you want to say about the lease negotiations, I agree with you. Like, why is this in public? Why are we putting PDFs on a website? Why are we putting legal letters? Why are we, and also, like, I don't know. I know we don't want to get into it. I do feel like
we can get into it in Blogosphere. We don't need to belabor it right now, I think. You know what I mean? Like, we can talk about it.
It does feel like I don't know. It just feels like the Packers are overplaying a lot of the hands that they do or do not have right now.
I'm kind of over it already, but
I know you're over it. I mean, some perspective for someone living here, and like, I kind of in the same way, like, why does this all have to be public? I totally get the arguments on both sides. Why can't we just like meet in the middle? Why is this a thing when you have a lease that's up in 2032? I don't understand. I don't understand the publicness, but right. Also like I also, I have heard some things, especially regarding the draft. And so I know you say like a lot of this might be because of the impetus of the draft. I do know for a fact that the way the Packers are trying to kind of muscle their way into the draft as opposed to letting municipalities kind of handle the NFL, I do believe that there has been some kind of back and forth on that. In a way where other cities are kind of allowed to work with the NFL on the draft. So I have heard some things in that. I also, I do think that the Packers are, for people outside, and I've had to kind of school Aaron Nagler on this a little bit because it's hard if you're not here and you don't live here. Yes, the Packers are one of the most important things, to my opinion, for the state of Wisconsin. Okay, I'm never gonna, I'm always gonna be for that, but they're not the only billion-dollar company that's here. They're not the only thing that goes on in Northeast Wisconsin by any stretch of the imagination. And I think what the Packers are kind of forgetting, and I talked about this, is I think ultimately why they're doing some of the things they do, like, I don't understand what the impetus is. Clearly, like, leadership has decided that this is an issue and this is the strategy that they're going to try to go for. So regardless of what I think about that strategy, I do think that there's a little bit of catching up where the Packers have been allowed to kind of do what they want. And the political headwinds and the region headwinds and the economic development of the area has caught up. And, everybody wants a seat at the table, and they should have a right at the seat of the table. Whether you agree with what they say when they get to the table is a whole nother thing. But in some ways, the people that should have a seat at the table haven't been at the table. And I think a lot of what you're seeing now is posturing and things that are real, by the way, right? For over 85 years, Green Bay and the Green Bay Packers were hand in hand. And until the Packers decided that they wanted a 5 cent sales tax for the county, they created the stadium district. So it's interesting because I think that it's a bunch of inside baseball nonsense that nobody cares about. But ultimately, I do
Right.
no, it truly is, right? And I think that's why we're in the middle of football season. Why are we talking about this? But there's the Packers are very special. And I don't think we can ever forget that. And I also don't think it's fair a lot of times to compare us to any other teams because I don't want to be any other team. I don't want to have an owner. I don't want to be owned by. I want to be the Green Bay Packers. So you got to.
Well, okay. Now I appreciate that. However, the Packers don't exist without the 31 other teams and revenue sharing. And the
Yep.
fact that those 31 other teams are availed to public money to the tune of hundreds of millions of dollars, that's a very real thing, whether we want it or not. So
Yep.
I
Yeah, but
understand
what
where
are
the
they going to
Packers are
do?
coming from as far
What are
as
they
like,
going to
but
do?
this is my point, right? This is the thing. You can't move the franchise. What are you going to do? Move to Madison? Like you can't do it.
Here's my problem. You don't create leverage by shitting on your namesake.
Well, yeah, and why is it happening publicly?
You
That's what I
don't
don't get.
create
I
leverage
literally
by
found out about
publicly
this, Corey.
lambasting what you're named after. It's just not
I
how you
just
create leverage. It's just
I
not how
found
it's
out
done.
about this because I got an alert, an app notification push from the Packers app. So everybody who has a Packers app on their phone got this pissing contest bullshit pushed to them. Like here's the one of the bits from the letter that the Packers attached. You were talking about the PDF thing that was attached to their article, which God bless Wes Hod for having to write it. But this is the level they're going to, right? So there's apparently some discussion or contention about the EMTs that are used on game day, right? And apparently the mayor, now we don't see the mayor's letter, but this is their response to it. The mayor contends that they should be using city EMTs. Well, they have always used county EMTs, and the Packers want to continue doing that. Okay, that's very inside baseball bullshit that no real
Yeah.
football fan really cares about, is thinking about, whatever. But the fact that the mayor apparently, now this is on the Packers side, pushed so hard on this that it affected something on game day recently, that's absolutely insane to me. Like the
It
fact
is
that this
insane,
can't
but
be
it's also
resolved
insane. It's also
outside of
insane
the
that the Green Bay
affecting of
Packers
the
are
game day
it
like operations.
but
What?
again, like it's only thing I want to say that it's very one-sided because we're not getting the other point of view there.
No,
You're right. We're
I
only seeing the
understand that.
PDF,
I
which is
literally
it's
just said
critical.
that.
No, but it's I know you just said it, but it's critical to say it again because they didn't decide not to do $80 million in renovations because of the lease negotiations, but that's what they say in an article. That's BS, right? So I don't know what else is BS in there. Where it's a lot. It feels to me like a lot of egos and not a lot of thinking. That's what it feels like to me on both sides.
I just don't get why it's public.
What's
Like
the
we're
strategy
talking
here? What's
about
the
it because it's
strategy?
public. You know, that's where I kind of break down with it. I'm like, man, like you're literally blasting this out to all your fans. And look, I kind of get it because instantly my Twitter reactions, my Twitter mentions are filled with, well, the mayor's an idiot and like he's not going to be there long and all that stuff, which is all knee jerk fan stuff. And I get it. I get why people react that way. But like, what does that get you if you're the Packers? Like, I don't understand. Like, there's
Yeah,
no gain there. Like, people are going to say that anyway. Like, that's just people in their relationship to politics for the most part,
yep.
right? Like, oh, politicians are useless. Oh, they're idiots, whatever. Yeah, that's just where they live. So you're putting this out there. What does it gain? What is it? How does that move things forward for you in any
Yeah,
meaningful way? It doesn't, as far as I can tell. That's just where I'm
I
looking.
agree. I agree with that. 100%.